Okay, so now we're going to go through AT3 for Cluster 5. Okay, so this is a series of written questions about acute care. This assessment task consists of short answers. Students must complete all questions as per the assessor's marking guide. Students who don't receive a satisfactory mark will be provided with their feedback and a second opportunity to submit the answers. Question 1. Utilising the list below, complete the following table related to acute health problems. So we want you to pick, here are the problems and which system here. We want you to use these problems to populate this grid, okay? And then we want you to put in here and research some of the clinical manifestations that you'll see that relate to, say for example, urinary retention. Pick one of these, put it in which system it relates to, and then tell us what that looks like. Okay? Question 2. Provide a definition and 2 common clinical signs and nursing interventions required for the following diagnoses. So we want you to go through each of these issues and problems that patients present with acutely, and we want you to define them. So angina, you need to define what angina is. Tell me what 2 signs and symptoms of angina, and then we want you to tell us what nursing interventions you would do to help a person with angina. Then we want you to do the same thing for cellulitis. Again, define and tell us what cellulitis is. Tell us 2 signs and symptoms of cellulitis, and then tell us nursing-wise what's a nursing intervention you would do to alleviate the signs and symptoms of cellulitis. Same for DVT, same for dehydration, hemorrhage, myocardial infarction, renal calculi, sepsis, shock. Okay. Question 3. Describe 3 different types of fractures. So we want you to tell us 3 different types of fractures. Okay. And then so it would just be a dot point. So 3 different types of fractures and describe the fracture. So where is it? Give us an example of where that fracture might occur. Okay. And it just shows you by just telling us how and where the fractures occur, shows us that you have a good understanding of the type of fracture. Okay. Question 4. Explain the difference between a closed and an open head injury. Okay. So here we want you to make the distinction between the 2. Okay. Going to head injury, what's a closed head injury? And then what's an open head injury, and what are the difference between the 2? Okay. Question 5. Provide a description for each classification of burn listed below. Okay. So just one sentence. So epidermal burn, and tell us what sort of burn it is. So where it, so just describe an epidermal burn. Okay. Question 6. A patient has been admitted following a fall out of bed at a nursing home they reside in. The orthopaedic surgeon tells you that the patient has a fractured neck of femur. The patient has end-stage dementia and is non-communicative. Okay. So 3 things here. Describe what nursing actions you would take to assess the patient's pain, remembering that the patient cannot communicate with you. So we want you to tell us how you would assess a patient's pain that cannot communicate with you. Okay. What nursing interventions could you perform to alleviate this acute pain? Okay. So what would you do to alleviate a patient's pain? Okay, what actions would you take? Okay, what's the first thing you would do if you were able to assess their pain and then you needed to take the next step of doing something about it? So what you'd probably do, two different things here, okay? Something that's out of your control that you would need to activate. You know, maybe another member of staff to assist you. Who would that be? And then the other thing you would do is, so what are all the, this is asking for non-pharmacological interventions, essentially, okay? During your assessment, the patient becomes unresponsive. List what nursing interventions you would perform now and provide your rationale for each intervention. Essentially, what do you do if a patient becomes unresponsive and unconscious? Okay, so you might talk us through an acronym that you would do for an unresponsive, unconscious patient. Okay, and that's the finish of AT3.